When people talk about Dale Earnhardt's children, many fans immediately think of Dale Earnhardt Jr. But Dale Earnhardt had another son, one who raced professionally, won championships, and quietly disappeared from the NASCAR spotlight. His name was Kerry Earnhardt, and for decades his story sat in the background of NASCAR history, complicated, emotional, and largely overlooked. Kerry Earnhardt was born in 1969 during the earliest years of Dale Earnhardt's racing career. At the time, Dale was still trying to establish himself in NASCAR, bouncing between rides and struggling financially. Shortly after Kerry's birth, Dale and Kerry's mother divorced. Kerry was adopted by his stepfather, and for much of his childhood, he did not carry the Earnhardt name. For years, Kerry grew up largely outside Dale's racing world, watching his biological father become one of the most famous drivers in motorsports history, but from a distance. Their relationship was complicated. There were periods of contact and long stretches without it. By Kerry's own account, reconnecting with Dale as an adult wasn't easy, but it did eventually happen. Unlike Dale Jr., Kerry didn't grow up with immediate access to NASCAR's top teams or development systems. Instead, Kerry took a more traditional grassroots path. He began racing late models and regional series, working his way up largely on talent and persistence rather than name recognition. Ironically, because he didn't use the Earnhardt name early on, many people didn't even realize who he was. And when he finally did step into bigger opportunities, expectations followed him everywhere. Kerry Earnhardt found his greatest success outside of the NASCAR Cup Series. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, Kerry became a standout driver in the ARCA series, winning multiple races and capturing the 1998 ARCA championship. That championship proved he wasn't just Dale Earnhardt's son. He could win consistently. But despite that success, top-tier NASCAR opportunities were limited. Teams already had young stars, and Dale Jr. was clearly positioned as the future face of the Earnhardt legacy. One of the biggest questions that fans still ask is simple. Why didn't Dale Earnhardt put Kerry in a full-time DEI ride? The answer is more complicated than favoritism or neglect. Kerry didn't grow up inside Dale's racing world, and when Dale was building his career in the 70s and 80s, Kerry was living with his mother and stepfather, and he obviously wasn't connected to NASCAR at all. By the time Kerry began racing seriously, Dale's professional life and his race teams were already well established. When Dale Earnhardt Incorporated began expanding in the late 1990s, DEI wasn't designed as a development pipeline. The organization was built around Dale Jr., Michael Waltrip, and Steve Park, with major sponsorship commitments already in place. Seats weren't open, they were locked in. Kerry did race with DEI-supported equipment in ARCA, where he won races and captured the 1998 ARCA championship, but those opportunities didn't automatically translate to a Cup or Busch Series contract. In NASCAR, sometimes even strong results aren't often enough without strong sponsorship and long-term planning. After Dale Earnhardt's death, Kerry's path moved further outside DEI's core. He signed with Fitz Bradshaw Racing in the Busch Series in 2002, a team that had technical ties to DEI but wasn't owned by them. Kerry ran competitively, earning top 5 finishes, but not at a level that forced Cup promotion. Years later, Kerry would return to DEI in a limited role as a test driver, openly acknowledging that he wanted races but understood the team didn't have anything guaranteed to offer. By that point, DEI itself was struggling, shrinking, and beginning to restructure. Eventually, they disappeared altogether. In the end, Kerry Earnhardt wasn't shut out by a single decision. He simply arrived between eras, too late to be a part of DEI's foundation, and too early for NASCAR's modern development systems. As Kerry got older, he and Dale slowly began to reconnect. It wasn't instant, and it wasn't simple. By Kerry's own accounts, the relationship developed later in life, once Kerry was already racing and Dale had established himself as a NASCAR legend. They weren't building a typical father-son racing partnership. Instead, it was more cautious. A relationship formed between two adults who had missed years together. Kerry has said that Dale was supportive of his racing career, but also honest about how difficult the sport could be, especially without timing and opportunities lining up perfectly. By the late 1990s, Kerry was spending more time around Dale in the NASCAR garage. The relationship wasn't built in public or promoted heavily, and Kerry never leaned into the Earnhardt name for attention. But before Dale's death in 2001, the two had reestablished contact and were on speaking terms, something Kerry had described as meaningful, even if it came later than either of them had wanted. Kerry's story isn't one of failure. It's one of timing, circumstance, and quiet success. He won championships, he raced professionally, and he carved out a career without relying on the family name. But in a sport built on legacy and spotlight, Kerry Earnhardt became the son NASCAR didn't quite know what to do with. And that's why today, he's often remembered as Dale Earnhardt's forgotten son. If you enjoy uncovering the forgotten stories of NASCAR history, please consider subscribing. There's a lot more stories just like this that are hiding beneath the surface.